For centuries, Antarctica has remained one of the most inhospitable and mysterious places on Earth. It is a land of extremes, where freezing temperatures, hurricane-force winds, and vast ice-covered landscapes make survival incredibly difficult. Despite humanity's advances in exploration and technology, reaching Antarctica is still a formidable challenge. But what exactly makes this icy continent so difficult to access? Antarctica's sheer remoteness, harsh weather conditions, and treacherous terrain have thwarted countless explorers throughout history. From the earliest navigators who only caught glimpses of the frozen land to the brave adventurers who attempted to set foot on the continent, Antarctica has tested human endurance in ways no other place on Earth has. This is the story of those who dared to venture into the unknown, and why Antarctica remains one of the hardest places to reach even today. Antarctica is the coldest, driest, and windiest continent on the planet. The extreme weather conditions here are unlike anywhere else, making survival nearly impossible without specialized equipment and preparation. The continent holds the record for the coldest temperature ever recorded on Earth, a staggering minus 128.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Minus 89.2 degrees Celsius. In these brutal conditions, exposed skin can freeze in minutes, and even modern technology struggles to function properly. Beyond the freezing temperatures, Antarctica is also home to some of the most violent winds on the planet. Katabatic winds, which are created by the cold, dense air rushing down from the high interior of the continent, can reach speeds of up to 200 miles per hour. These hurricane-force winds make navigation extremely dangerous, posing a significant threat to any expedition. Additionally, 98% of the continent is covered in thick ice, with some areas having ice sheets that are more than 15,000 feet, 4,500 meters deep. This icy terrain is not only difficult to traverse, but also constantly shifting, creating unpredictable crevasses that can swallow entire vehicles and explorers without warning. With such an extreme environment, it is no wonder that Antarctica remains one of the least accessible places on Earth. The first recorded attempt to explore the icy waters of Antarctica was made by the British explorer James Cook. Between 1772 and 1775, Cook led an expedition that became the first to cross the Antarctic Circle. He sailed further south than anyone before him, proving that there was indeed a vast frozen landmass in the southern hemisphere. Although Cook never actually set foot on the continent, his journey dispelled myths of a habitable southern land and provided valuable information for future explorers. He documented the brutal cold, treacherous icebergs, and dangerous storms that made the region nearly impossible to navigate. His expedition marked the beginning of humanity's quest to uncover the secrets of Antarctica. Almost 50 years after Cook's journey, a Russian expedition led by Fabian von Bellingshausen and Mikhail Lazarev became the first to lay eyes on Antarctica. In 1820, aboard the ship Vostok, Bellingshausen sailed close enough to the Antarctic coast to confirm its existence, making history as the first recorded sighting of the continent. While the Russians did not land on the ice, their journey proved that Antarctica was not just a collection of floating icebergs, but a vast, solid landmass covered in ice. Their discovery spurred further exploration efforts by other nations eager to uncover more about this frozen world. One of the most significant early explorations of Antarctica was carried out by American naval officer Charles Wilkes. Between 1838 and 1842, Wilkes led the United States Exploring Expedition, which charted large portions of the Antarctic coastline. Wilkes and his crew mapped nearly 1,500 miles of Antarctica's coast, confirming that it was indeed a continent and not just a collection of ice sheets. His discoveries laid the foundation for future expeditions and established Antarctica as an important region for scientific study. In the early 1840s, British explorer James Clark Ross embarked on a groundbreaking expedition to Antarctica. Sailing aboard the ships Erebus and Terror, Ross explored the Ross Sea, and discovered one of the largest floating ice masses on Earth, now known as the Ross Ice Shelf. Ross's expedition provided crucial geographical knowledge about Antarctica, and his discoveries opened the door for future explorers who would attempt to reach even deeper into the heart of the frozen continent. However, despite these early efforts, Antarctica remained one of the most elusive and challenging places for humans to explore. These early explorers paved the way for what would later be known as the heroic age of Antarctic exploration, where daring adventurers would risk their lives to set foot on the world's most remote continent. But as history would show, the challenges of reaching Antarctica were far from over. Despite centuries of exploration and advancements in technology, Antarctica remains one of the most difficult places to reach on Earth. The continent's extreme weather, remote location, logistical challenges, strict environmental laws, and high costs make access incredibly difficult for all but a select few. Antarctica experiences some of the harshest weather conditions on the planet. During the winter months, the continent is plunged into complete darkness for months at a time, with temperatures plummeting far below freezing. The lack of sunlight makes survival even more challenging, as temperatures can reach lethal levels and navigation becomes nearly impossible. Even during the summer months, when some areas receive constant daylight, Antarctica remains an unforgiving environment. Brutal storms can arise with little warning, bringing hurricane-force winds and whiteout conditions that make travel extremely dangerous. The sub-zero temperatures persist even in the warmest months, posing a serious threat to both people and equipment. The sheer isolation of the continent means that any expedition must be completely self-sufficient, as rescue operations are difficult, if not impossible, in such extreme conditions. Reaching Antarctica requires overcoming immense logistical obstacles. Unlike other continents, there are no major cities or permanent settlements in Antarctica, and access is limited to a few key entry points. Ships must navigate through treacherous, ice-filled waters to reach the coastline, and landing spots are scarce due to the continent's steep cliffs, ice shelves, and unpredictable weather. Air travel is equally challenging. The extreme cold affects aviation fuel, making it difficult to store and use for extended periods. Aircraft engines and machinery struggle to operate in the freezing temperatures, and sudden weather changes can make landing dangerous. Only a few ice runways exist on the continent, primarily serving research stations, and these runways require constant maintenance to remain operational. Even when flights are possible, they require extensive planning, specialized aircraft, and backup emergency protocols in case of unexpected conditions. Unlike other remote locations on Earth, Antarctica is not owned by any one country. Instead, it is governed by the Antarctic Treaty of 1959, an international agreement that bans military activity, territorial claims, and resource exploitation. This treaty ensures that Antarctica remains dedicated to scientific research and environmental protection, but it also imposes strict regulations on who can visit and how they must conduct themselves while there. Environmental laws further restrict human activity on the continent. To preserve Antarctica's fragile ecosystem, visitors must follow stringent guidelines to minimize their impact. Waste disposal, wildlife interaction, and even walking routes are heavily controlled to prevent damage to the environment. These regulations make it nearly impossible for large-scale tourism or commercial activity to develop in Antarctica, keeping access limited to a small number of scientists, researchers, and carefully monitored expeditions. Even if someone is willing to endure the harsh conditions and navigate the logistical challenges, the financial cost of reaching Antarctica is staggering. Organizing an expedition to the continent can cost millions of dollars, requiring specialized equipment, transportation, and supplies. Only government-funded research teams, extreme adventurers, and the wealthiest tourists can afford the journey. For scientists, research missions require extensive funding and planning, often involving years of preparation. Even wealthy tourists who wish to visit must pay thousands of dollars for guided tours, often with no guarantee of successfully reaching the continent due to unpredictable weather. The high costs and risks involved make Antarctica one of the most exclusive and challenging destinations on Earth. From the earliest explorers who risked their lives in search of the unknown to modern researchers braving the continent's extreme conditions, Antarctica has always been a place of mystery and danger. The combination of brutal weather, isolation, logistical difficulties, strict regulations, and the immense cost of exploration makes it one of the most inaccessible places on the planet. Yet, despite these challenges, Antarctica continues to attract those who seek to uncover its secrets. Scientists work tirelessly to study its climate, geology, and ecosystems, while adventurers push the limits of human endurance to stand on the frozen continent. But as technology advances and the world becomes more connected, one question remains: will humanity ever truly conquer Antarctica, or will it always remain the last great frontier?